Alright guys, I'm excited to show you this Brother PE900 Embroidery Machine. I'm going to show you what comes in the box, how to get things set up, how to use it, as well as show you some embroidery demos using designs created in the app itself. Now Brother does have other models such as the PE545 and the SE700, but the big difference with this of course is going to be the size of the frame. So that is a 5.7 frame, so you're going to be able to create larger designs. Things such as names you can do with this that may not be possible with those other machines. This also happens to be faster. It can do up to 1,000 stitches per minute, where the other ones can only do up to 600. So you're looking at almost double the speed. And lastly, this does have the ability to automatically cut the jump stitches for you. So if you're creating a lot of complex work, this is going to help cut down on the manual labor that you have to do afterwards. So I'm excited to show you what this thing can do. I just want to start off by quickly going through the physical features. You do have that start and stop button right here. You have the automatic up and down for the needle, and then you have a manual thread cutter here if you want to use that instead of the automatic function. Of course, you're going to see markings for how to thread this machine. Speaking of which, your spool is going to be hidden under this kind of cool cover here. This is your bobbin loader here, and then of course all the other numbered markings for how to thread the machine. Around the side here you have your precision hand wheel, you have a USB slot for importing designs, and then the power switch and the power cable port in there. You have an automatic needle threader here, and then a manual thread cutter here as well. This, of course, is going to be the thing that's going to move the frame. So if you're new to embroidery, this is what you would clip the frame to, and this is what moves it around to create the design. And then, of course, to actually operate the machine, you would use the LED display here. So let's take a quick look at that now. Now, if you are familiar with the other embroidery machines from Brother, it's all pretty much the same layout. That first button there is the back button. So let's say you are on the settings page. That's just going to take you back to whatever previous page you were on. You're also going to see these two arrows. So that's if you are somewhere with multiple pages. So for example, this one is showing as 1 out of 10. So you can scroll through all 10 pages using these arrows right here. This guy right here is just a safety lock essentially. So when you're needing to change the needle or the presser foot, you can press that. That way it just locks down the machine, so there's no way for you to accidentally start it. So you'll see here, you're not able to click on anything, and then you can just press that button again to unlock things. This is going to be your main embroidery mode, so we'll save that for last. Again, this is your settings page, so you can just kind of scroll through. This is where you would tell the machine the size of your frame or which frame you're using. And then you have a bunch of other settings you can change. So this is how you would change the labeling, for example. On page 4, you can change the needle position. You can turn the sounds on and off. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do that. And then you can change the language there. You can reset to default on page 6, set up the Wi-Fi on 7, change the name on page 8, check for updates on 9, and then finally you can register the machine with the app on page 10. And then this button right here is going to be your help menu. So it's going to show you all the different processes for the machine. So for example, this would be how to load the bobbin, and then it's just going to be pictures showing you exactly how to do so. All right, but let's go ahead and take a look at the main embroidery menu. So one thing I forgot to mention is that this does come with more built-in designs than the other models as well. So that's something to consider. At the top there, you'll have your pick of some unique designs. So let's just show you a couple of these to kind of give you a sampling. Down here in the second row, you'll have some unique designs for lettering that you can choose from. If you choose this one here, you can actually type out stuff. So we'll actually save that for last because I'm going to do a demo on that. But this one here are shape-related designs. So for example, you can click on square and you can choose any one of these designs. But let's take a quick look at this. As you may guess, you can go ahead and just type things in. So let's just go ahead and type in test. This is how you access the numbers as well as special letters. But I'm happy with the word test, so click on set. And so this page is going to let you further manipulate. So you can move it, for example. And you can actually just go ahead and click and drag on the screen as well. You can resize it. You can just hold down and then you can see it getting smaller. You can go ahead and make it bigger like that. And then you can actually rotate it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for our example. You can change colors here, but for now I'm just going to keep it the one color, but that's kind of what that looks like. So let's go ahead and choose red actually. All right, and then you can go into font edit and you can kind of do a couple other things. So you can actually make each letter a different color using multicolor. Now with array, you can curve the letters. So For example, you can do that, that. So I'm going to choose this one. I like that. This is how you can elongate them, add more space, or crowd them in a little more. So let me just go ahead and keep it that way. And then you can change the size of each letter individually using this function here. But once you're done, you can just go ahead and click on Edit End, and then you'll have a final chance to move things around using that. And then you would just want to make sure that your frame has the fabric, of course. Click the frame in, click Embroidery, and then you are free to press the Start and Stop button. All right, guys, so just in case you are new to embroidery and you don't know what to do with this thing, so this is just a frame that's going to keep your fabric in place, and then you would click it in, and that's how the thing moves around to create the design. So you would just kind of loosen it up, and there's actually 2 of these frames, and then you would take your fabric, lay it over the outer frame, and then you would place the inner frame inside to keep it in place. The idea is to make sure that it's taut, like the skin of a drum. The only other thing I would recommend is also using a stabilizer. So this is just like a fabric-like material that doesn't stretch. And the idea is that you would actually place this first inside the frame, then the fabric over it. That way, when the needle is going, especially because of the speed that it goes in and out of the fabric, it's not going to move the fabric around, which is going to make the design look sloppy and unprofessional. So the frame and the stabilizer basically work together to keep things looking nice and neat and professional. And as you can see, here's a sample of the word test on a piece of denim fabric. All right, but now let's create an actual design that we want to use. And for that, I'm actually going to design it through the app so I can show you at the same time all the features that are available to you there. So let's take a look at that now. All right, so this is the home screen of the app. And at the very bottom there, you'll see kind of the main categories. Home is basically where you're going to be able to choose already made designs. So at the top, of course, you will see a search button. You can search for various categories like those listed right there. You can even filter using that filter button to the right. So if you only want Disney or if you only want free stuff, you can do that. You can filter by machine type as well, which is really handy. So fairly easy to navigate. And so here's just kind of a quick look at some of the designs that you can take a look at. But if you have an idea of your own, that's where you would use the new button down at the bottom middle. So let's click into that. Font decorator at the top, that's where you can take a letter and basically make it fancy. So let's say you choose a character, we'll just stick with A, choose a motif or a theme. So we'll choose the plant theme. So we'll click generate to kind of combine those 2 ideas. All right, there you go. And then at the bottom, you can change the style even further, as well as change the colors. All right, so that was font decorator. And then below font decorator is design editor. So this is where you can combine graphics and text. So for example, I've got this leaf, you can move it, resize it. You can add the text, same thing, resize it, change the font, and then kind of manipulate it like we did with the word test. You can curve it like that. Below design editor is called drawing tools. And this is where, just like it says, you can actually draw your own design. Similar to the paint program, you can do things like change the thickness and the width of your lines. But the one that I really want to show you today is image to embroidery. And so what's great about this feature is that's actually going to allow you to import from the Photos album on your phone. So for example, I was able to find this brick wall image because my son wanted a brick wall embroidered on one of his shirts. The problem is I couldn't find it in any of the designs, so all I did was find this image online, saved it onto the Photos album, and now I can import it from there. How cool is that? So now it's imported, I resized it, and then what I can do is choose the number of colors that I want in order to make it as realistic as possible. And by having remove background enabled, I can just remove the entire white portion of that. And then if we click preview, and there we go. So it's created its own embroidered version of that image. So even if you can't find a design that you're looking for within the included designs, you can actually just go ahead and download an image, import it into this app, and be able to create an embroidered version that way. So how cool is that? So we'll just go ahead and click on done. And then on the next page, you have the choice to add text or other designs if you'd like, but I just want the brick wall, so I'll click done. And then on the next page, click on transfer. And that's it. We just need to follow these 2 steps here on the machine itself. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, so as per the instructions, we would just press this icon here and then the cloud. Then this should transfer that design from the app to this machine. All right, perfect. So we'll just go ahead and click on it and then click set. You can do some final adjustments here using the functions that we looked at earlier, but I'm happy with the way it is. So I'll just click on edit end. Again, final movements here, but I'm happy with that. I'll click on embroidery. All right, awesome. So this is the part that we didn't really take a look at before because there was just one color. But when you have multiple colors, it'll kind of give you a rundown of what it's gonna do and the time that each one will take. You'll see the total time for the project there, and then you can check the progress using those red numbers. So everything's at 0 yet, of course, because we haven't started, but let's go ahead and get into it and see what this thing can do. All right, so I've already placed my shirt into the frame, and then we just gotta place the frame inside. You'll hook it up right on the side here. All right, now I am just threading the machine with the first color, so it's gonna be that lighter brown. So that's what I'm doing now. All right, now we can get started. All right, guys, so it is done with the first color. So all you would have to do is go ahead and change out the thread to the next color, and then you just go ahead and press that start and stop button again. It'll continue from where it left off. Time to embroider the actual bricks themselves. And let's get this frame out of here. We'll just unclip it on the side there, pull this guy out. And look at that. So let me just go ahead and remove it from the frame. Again, all the jump stitches were already removed, so we would just have to remove this guy. This happens to be tearaway. And look at that. You have your final finished product. So that looks pretty cool. And again, just keep in mind, this was not even a design that was available in the machine or in the app. This is an image that I downloaded from the internet, and the app made it possible to be able to turn it into this embroidery design. So that's pretty awesome. All right, guys, but that was the Brother PE900. I hope that helps you decide whether this will be right for you today. But as you can see, super capable. It's got that larger frame. And with the app, the possibilities for what you can design and put on your clothing is really endless. So definitely check this thing out today if you're trying to level up your game with embroidery.